There have been a lot more downs than ups so far in this Notre Dame offseason. It has been turbulent, but Notre Dame finally got some great news and at a key position that they needed some positivity. Let's talk about the return, officially, of Jason Onye. Ryan Roberts from A to Z Sports breaking down everything Notre Dame football. Had a nice little update on Friday. Was able to talk to a couple sources close to the situation and was able to verify what many people had thought was coming, but the return of defensive tackle Jason Onye for his 5th year. Obviously, it was a lot of like a weird kind of feeling around this one. So for people that didn't follow Jason Onye, number 47, who was a redshirt junior this past year, was a valuable member of this team in the interior defensive line to begin the season. His season was cut short after 5 football games. After the Louisville game was his last game for the season. And it was a little bit, it was strange to say the least. You just kind of, you had heard that he wasn't on the team anymore, and there wasn't much conversation around it. I think Coach Freeman at one point just talked about it and said that he was just he was away from the team and he was no longer with the team at that present time. But there had been no indication of what exactly was going on, what the future was, what even the present was. It was a very strange situation. And honestly, the last couple months, there have been a lot of just kind of skepticism over if Jason Onye would be back for Notre Dame going into the 2025 season. But it was pointed out over the last week or so that Onye was on the spring roster for Notre Dame, number 47, seemingly back. Now, what exactly does that mean? Is he suspended? Is he back in full? Is he back fully? What is the current situation and status of Jason Onye? Well, I released an article at A to Z Sports, which will be in the description if you all want to read it, that Jason Onye has been cleared for all team activity. He is back for spring ball, and there are high expectations that he's going to come in and he is going to compete in this, what is now becoming a crowded defensive tackle room. Because I talked recently about there's a lot of names, and this conversation even centered around Jason Onye, but it was a seemingly deeper defensive tackle depth chart, but a one that still had to be figured out as far as who are the starters? Who are the key reserves? What are the snap share? Like all those types of things. We didn't know. But I will tell you this. In a defensive tackle room now that has Louisville transfer Jared Dawson, that has USC transfer Elijah Hughes, that has Jason Onye back, that has Donovan Heinisch coming back, that has Gabriel Rubio coming back, Armel Mukum, and then Sean Sevillano, and a couple of the younger defensive tackles. All of a sudden, a position that I thought was going to be a weakness, at least entering this offseason, before spring ball has even started here, obviously several weeks off from that, there is optimism here for me that this defensive tackle position is not only going to be good, it could be a strength for this team in the end. Because the way I look at that is as long as Jason Onye, who has been in the 280-something, the 290-something range throughout the course of his last couple years of his career. If he is back and in full health because here's the thing, he was playing great football before he left the team last fall. If you turn the Purdue game, and I know Purdue was not a good football team, but Purdue, he had 4 total tackles, 1.5 tackles for loss, 1.5 sacks. He was dominant in that outing. And he honestly, there was an argument that before the suspension happened or before he left the team, that he was maybe your best interior defensive lineman in a lot of stretches, right? So this is big, and what it gives you is flexibility now. We've talked about Gabriel Rubio had to play a lot of 3-tech this past year down the stretch because of the injury to Riley Mills. Well, now I'm looking at this roster, this depth chart, and I'm saying there is flexibility here. We can move Gabriel Rubio to nose. We could play maybe Jared Dawson at nose. You move Donovan Heinisch to 3 technique to pair with a Jason Onye, and then you have an Armel Mukum who could back up maybe multiple spots on the interior defensive line. So this defensive tackle group, while it doesn't have the star names of a Howard Cross and a Riley Mills going into the season, it could end up being a better overall unit when all is said and done. Folks, excited for the offseason, spring practice, everything you need is going to be at A to Z Sports. Make sure you subscribe to the channel, and we'll talk to you next time. As always, you know the drill with offseason, in the season, championship run, or anything in between. It's always Go Irish.